Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan. Today we have a very interesting topic to talk about. Current events. Okay, so it's not a whiskey review or anything today. We're going to talk current events. And I do want to just kind of make a blanket statement up front. This isn't going to be a conversation about politics per se, as much as it's going to be a conversation about the industry's reaction to what's happening in America right now and how that's going to affect the industry. Because industry specialists, organizations, and people involved in the whole distillation craft of American spirits, they are very worried right now, and they are making blanket statements and appealing to the powers that be that things change because they are really scared. So I think it's definitely worth talking about because it's going to have serious impacts on us as consumers, but also the people who work in the industry as well. So we're not going to be talking about politics. Quite frankly, you probably don't really care about my political opinions. I frankly don't care about yours. So we will forego all of that stuff and just talk about the facts about what's happening and how it's going to affect the industry. Cool? Let's move on. Okie dokie. So what's going on in the industry? Well, we have this whole tariff trade war thing going on right now. And it's been a little bit of back and forth. We're going to do it. We're not going to do it. We're going to do it. We're not going to do it. Right now, we're sort of in a holding pattern. But here are the basic facts. So the Trump administration has said we are going to impose a 25% tariff on imported goods from Canada. And this has caused some retaliation from Canada as well, saying, okay, well, I guess we're going to do it too. We find this to be a bit of a betrayal of our partnership, our allyship. We've been allies for a long time. We've been buddies for a long time and close neighbors. So they feel pretty slighted by it. And one of the ways that they're retaliating is they have said, okay, we will take American spirits off our shelves, period. So we're not going to sell American spirits anymore if that's the game we're going to play. So obviously, in the whiskey industry here in the United States of America, this is a big deal on two fronts. This is a twofold thing because you have to think about their product now not being sold in Canada, but then you also have to think about the fact that they are now paying a sizable increase on the whiskey that they're sourcing. You know, how many people source Canadian whiskey? Buffalo Trace does it. I've got Caribou Crossing. It's in the Rock Hill Farms bottle. That's why in my head. But you got Caribou Crossing, you got the Traveler. A lot of actual Kentucky heritage distillers source Canadian whiskey. Whistle Pig does it. Four-Gate. I mean, there's a lot of Canadian whiskey that we drink. And it's not just the premium stuff, it's also things like mixers and stuff that we make cocktails out of. So a lot of these companies are going to be paying a lot more for what they're sourcing from Canada and also not being able to sell their product in Canada. And you might ask, okay, well, is that a big deal? Yes. So, for example, Brown-Forman reports that 55% of their net sales come from outside the United States. Brown-Forman. Right? We're talking Jack Daniels, Woodford Reserve, Old Forester. That's a big deal. So 55% of their revenue comes from external sources. You might say, okay, well, specifically, you might ask, how much is Canada? So the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, the LCBO, they report that, so this is going to be a twofold thing. They sell nearly $1 billion, just them. This isn't all of Canada. This is just Ontario. They sell nearly $1 billion worth of American spirits in Ontario a year. $1 billion. And that's being pulled from shelves. That's just one part of Canada. So we're talking billions of dollars being lost if this stuff ends up happening, which they did announce they're pulling these products from the shelf. And as far as I'm recording this, they have not rescinded that just yet. So then that leads us to the question, what's the industry response? I'm not talking about the politicians. I'm talking about the industry. Well, one politician I think we should at least quote, and that's the governor of Kentucky. So he had a lot to say about this. So the governor of Kentucky, I don't want to misquote, so I'm just going to read it to you. This is what he said. Ready? It says, President Trump promised to lower prices, but these tariffs will do the opposite. So this is part of a larger statement that he makes, but then after he talks about the tariffs in general, this is what he says about Kentucky. He says, in Kentucky, we will feel the pain even more acutely as Canada moves to impose their own retaliatory tariffs on American whiskey. The combination will not just raise our cost of living, it will devastate our Commonwealth's signature bourbon industry, one which generates hundreds of millions of dollars of tax revenue specifically each year, and employs tens of thousands of Kentuckians. He has some strong language here. I don't want to get political, so I will paraphrase, but he says, we will bear the brunt of these decisions that the administration is making. It'll affect our farmers, coopers, truckers, manufacturers, and working families in Kentucky. Now, a few weeks ago, industry specialists in the whiskey industry made some predictions. This was from the Toast Not Tariffs Coalition, which was an organization. It's a group of 52 U.S. associations and state guilds, by the way, in the alcohol industry in the United States. And this is what they said. They said a 10% tariff on wine and distilled spirits, such as American whiskey, externally, if Canada decided to do this, and other countries as well, like if Mexico said we'll do the same, and if China followed suit because they're all getting hit with the tariff situation too, said this could lead to a loss of 38,000 American jobs, whereas a 20% tariff could stand to lose 74,000 American jobs. By the way, it's not those, it's 25%. So their predictions, 38,000 at a 10% tariff, 74,000 American jobs at a 20% tariff. We're looking at 25% tariffs. So it's going to be even more than that. This is a direct quote from their chairperson. It says, at the end of the day, this is really about American jobs and American manufacturers and keeping those in America. He says, and we get it. Our point is we're already doing that, and we've been doing, to quote him, he says, we've been doing a damn good job of it the last 10 to 15 years. So we just hope that everybody can work this crap out. He says, hope they can work the differences out and let us just get back to making the world's greatest whiskey, is what the chairperson of the Toast Not Tariffs Coalition says. But the most important group that's responded to this, I think, is the DISCUS group. So this stands for the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States. They abbreviate it DISCUS. Who are they? They are a national trade association. Their members include Brown-Forman, Diageo, Beam Suntory, Bacardi. I mean, huge brands that are multinational. Okay, so their interests are, obviously they're primarily about American spirits, given the name of their organization. But anyways, they also lobby for legislation that is beneficial to the alcohol industry here in the United States of America. So this is literally what Brown-Forman has to say about it. It's what Diageo has to say about it. Beam Suntory, all of your, classic heritage distillers, and then tons of craft distillers as well are members as well. So this is what the alcohol industry has to say about all of this. You ready? So this is what they had to say. They report in 2023, because that's the most complete information they have at this point. Not all the information for reporting for 2024 is in yet, but they say in 2023, Canada ranked as the second largest export market for American spirits, and exports reached $255 million, according to the DISCUS. And just in the whiskey industry, this netted them hundreds of millions of dollars to Canada. If we're talking about all American spirits, seltzers, and wines, it's billions. But they are worried. They say these retaliatory tariffs, not to mention their products being pulled off the shelves. This was before that announcement. So this is even before that. It's even worse. But anyways, they say these retaliatory tariffs will target red states such as Kentucky and they're set to dramatically decrease the company's ability to be profitable in their trade with Canada, which means if they can't be profitable in their trade with Canada, they will cease to do it. Hundreds of millions of dollars specifically for these groups down the drain. This is what they're quoted as saying. Their chairperson says. He says, "We appreciate and recognize that the president wants to reduce the U.S. trade deficit and create more American manufacturing. The distinctive nature of distilled spirits products is a point that we will convey loudly. You can only make American whiskey in the United States. If our industry gets caught up in a tit-for-tat on tariffs, all it's going to do is have a direct impact on American whiskey exports, and that is counter to what President Trump wants to do." So they are literally saying, please don't do this. Don't do this whole trade war thing you guys got going on. Freaking cut it out, okay? So between Toast Not Tariffs and DISCUS, we have all, basically all the American distillers in agreement, plus the governor of Kentucky in agreement, saying this is terrible. This will have a huge impact on American spirits, which is like but you're right, it's just now getting back into full swing because it takes a lot of time to recover from things like the Great Depression, from war times where they had to shut down distilleries so that they could solely focus on making wartime materials with their stills, and recovering from prohibition. All that stuff takes a long time to claw your way back into a successful position. And American spirits are finally back into a very healthy spot. And now they're like, dude, don't let this be the next thing that collapses our market. We've been there and we've done that, and it's never been a good thing, so they don't want to do it again. Also, it completely chokes out innovation from craft distillers anytime something like this happens and it is actualized to its fullest potential. They get snuffed out because they just can't afford to keep up during those lean times. So this would be terrible for the industry. So where does that take us now? Let's talk about where we're at currently, why we're there, and where we're headed. So where we're at currently, we are in a 30-day pause. As of yesterday, we are in a 30-day pause. So this isn't canceled. These retaliatory tariffs and whatnot, they're just on hold for now as the powers that be try to come to a conclusion about how this is going to shake down moving forward. So how's it going to look moving forward? We don't know yet. We need to wait it out and see. It's out of our hands at this point. All we can do is rally behind the distillers and say, we're in agreement with them, or maybe you're not in agreement with them. Maybe you're not. I shouldn't presume to speak on your behalf. Now the question is, why? Why did we get here? What is all this gain? What's the purpose of it all? So the Trump administration has said that the only reason that they're doing this with Canada is because they want Canada to crack down on the fentanyl problem and undocumented immigrants from Canada. Now, whether or not you think those are big enough deals to warrant this kind of a response is up to you. But I will just give you some of the facts. So 98% of the fentanyl coming into the United States in the past year has been at the Mexican border. A measly 0.2% has been from the Canadian border. You're looking at it was like 28 pounds or something. I think it was like 38 pounds total, which 25 pounds, 10 pounds. It's about that much that came in last year from Canada. Okay. Also worth noting, that is a two-way street. About this much went into Canada from the United States. This much came in, this much went out. Now fentanyl's obviously a problem. I think there were 74,000 overdoses that involved fentanyl last year. Big deal. I mean, I'm not going to sweep that under the rug. We don't care about that. I think it's a big deal. Is that much from Canada worth this kind of a response? I won't tell you my opinion, but I will let you decide what your opinion is on that. But if that's the way that this administration plays ball, maybe it's good for the American people overall, but it certainly won't be good for the distillers of American spirits. It would be a catastrophic failure for them. It would mean the loss of tens of thousands, maybe even 100,000 American jobs between cooperage, manufacturing, truck drivers, all that stuff. Plus, their revenue flow would take hundreds of millions of dollars of a hit, which means that they can't employ as many people. They have to raise prices on their products, so people like you and I would pay maybe this $40 bottle from Heaven Hill, because Heaven Hill is on the list of companies whose products are being pulled off Canadian shelves. This $40 bottle could go up to $50. I don't know. On top of that, I think that this kind of a response will also not be immediately rectified with let's just cancel it. We won't do it. That won't be immediately fix the problem, because now you're going to have, imagine that you're a liquor store owner in Ontario and you just got word from the government, from your governing body that says, pull all Kentucky products off your shelf. You can't sell them anymore. How likely are you when they say, just kidding, it's fine? You might be hesitant in the following month to go and buy several cases of American bourbon, because you don't know, this was all wishy-washy. They were like, put it on your shelves, take it off your shelves. Put it on your shelves and charge 25% more, take it off your shelves. You might just be like, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not going to buy a case of Evan Williams, whatever. I'll leave it be for now. So I think that this will have lasting, negative impacts on the industry in general, regardless of whether or not this 30-day pause is, everything's lifted after it, or if it stays in place. Either way, I don't think it's going to be a great thing in the short term, at least, for the American whiskey industry. So that's what's going on. And as always, I think that having the facts and the information and hearing, testimony from the people who are directly impacted, I think that's what helps us form the best opinions and most informed opinions that we can. And even if it doesn't change our mind on where we stand, at least we understand where the opposition lies and what their concerns are. I think that that's very, very important in any kind of a situation like this where there are parties with differing opinions. I think understanding where the other one's coming from is the best way to find a fair compromise. So that's where we're at. That's what's going on. Hopefully this was informational for you and you have a bit of a better understanding for the situation as a whole. Excellent. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like on the video. Otherwise, maybe you didn't enjoy it because you're like, I hate this stuff. Then why just stick around to the end? That's just being a masochist. Hey, cheers, my friends. May you live richly and get better with age, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.